I guess that's the difference between Pluto and Saturn. Like Saturn experience, this is the difference. I think I just come up with something. Would you read a book with no conflicts? Even little kid books are about problems. It's not easy being big, and waiting is not easy. Very true. Play a video game with no challenges. Watch a movie where nothing ever happens to anybody. What would Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz be if she didn't have that journey on the yellow brick road? Like, what if she didn't have to fight the witch or find her ride or die friends or unmask the phony wizard? What if she was just told at the very beginning of her journey, you can go home whenever you want? What would be the point? Having no problems sounds good in theory, but in reality, it just leads to stagnation, it leads to complacency, it leads to no growth whatsoever. In order to be the best version of ourselves, as indicated by our natal chart, we have to have friction, we have to have compression, we have to have challenges on us, we need to have our burdens to overcome, because that's how we polish this diamond that's rough and raw and uncut inside of us, that is our soul, that needs to be polished only through challenges and friction. Saturn is one of the planets that represents problem creation, problem exploration. It's real world concerns, it's responsibilities, it's structure, challenge, discipline, tenacity. It's wisdom that we gain through hard-won experience. Saturn is the archetype of time, aging, the hermit. It's the disciplinarian inside of us that needs to push to get to the next level. Saturn has been unfiltered since 2017 because it entered into its first home sign of Capricorn in 2017. It was inflated by the presence of Jupiter that made the restrictions of Saturn even bigger and even stronger. And there inside Capricorn as well, co-present was Pluto. And Pluto was in the planning committee, amping up that constriction, restriction, and boundary experience we had in the last five to 6 years. Every 20 years, Saturn and Jupiter also come together and they set a theme, they set a flavor for the next 20-year cycle. And this time they met up in Aquarius, which gives Saturn a lot of power over that 20-year period that we're going through since 2020. That brings in Saturnian Aquarian themes such as restructuring, creating boundaries, taking responsibility, and that's in line with humanitarian efforts, with personal freedom, personal expression. It's a detachment from the old mode of being into innovation and a desire for a future that's better for everybody. Saturn is stationing October 22nd, 23rd of 2022. What it means is it looks like it's stopping, it's slowing down, and it's stopping on a degree that I think is critical. And then it's going to be moving forward. It will be leaving Aquarius. And for the first time in what it'll be in 2023, when it finally does leave, is 6 years where Saturn is not the boss of its own life. When it does station, it's stationing within a degree of a square, that final square to Uranus. And that's that reactivation of the old guard, the old ways, outdated things, coming to heads with newness, innovation, change towards the future. So every energy has its season, every energy has its turn, and Saturn being in such a powerful position, it's coming to an end. I really like this graphic. It's from PandoraAstrology.com. It helps us understand what the Saturn retrograde pattern actually looks like and some dates. So Saturn traveled back to the 18th degree of Aquarius, and that I think is a critical degree to watch for. When Pluto hits that point, it'll be a while for that, but 2034, 2035, when we look at the Sabian symbol, it's a forest fire finally quenched. Now, forest fire takes a long time to quench most of the time. It doesn't go out fast, and there's some fires that can leap out of their boundaries. Saturn's putting a spotlight on that degree for a reason, but I think this is a minimization of destruction. We're trying to quench a forest fire. The world is kind of burning, right? And we're passengers on this earth and in this experience. So what do? We need to collectively get together to help put out that fire. And what comes out of a fire is really important because the ashes nourish the earth. but we need to stop the fire before it destroys everything in its path. That'll be too much destruction. Saturn defines structure, and Pisces is pretty much the opposite. Pisces energy is the opposite of structure. It's universal love, it's boundaryless, it's merging into the beyond. It's water, it's mutable, it can fill any container, and it can be any shape. It's important to note that this is the end of a Saturn cycle as well, that Saturn has been through every sign up to Pisces now. So in this cycle, it started in 1996, the Saturn cycle is exiting Pisces on May 25th, 2025. 5/25/25. All these numbers are so interesting. But during March of 2023, it's going to be something to watch. Saturn entering Pisces, Pluto doing its preview ingress into Aquarius 3/23/23. Man, these numbers. Pluto's another catalyst for challenge. Pluto's another catalyst for change. It's a whole nother level. It's asking for sacrifice. It's asking for us to die in some metaphorical way, to remove something forever, to take it and not go there anymore. It's offering in return a transformation. It's a possibility for rebirth in return, but you don't get that for free either. Part of you has to go in order to get to that point. Stoicism is very Saturnian. Let's go Stoicism. So Marcus Aurelius was a Stoic philosopher. He was also a Roman emperor. He said, "Do not think what is hard for you to master is humanly impossible. And if it is humanly possible, consider it to be within your reach." It just takes hard work. The challenge of Saturn, if we accept it with humility and grace, can become the gift of mastery. That's what Saturn is in the end. That's what it boils down to, is mastery. But it's mastery through sacrifice and perseverance. Only the worthy will be rewarded. Only if you work hard will you get the rewards. Saturn does the opposite to people who don't work hard. It'll destroy people. We just have to keep trying. We have to not stop. We need to not give up. We have to have tenacity. Don't stop! Don't give up! And rewards come from that one simple choice, to just not give up.
Great job! I did it!
Something just to boil it down to, into a simple thing to take with you, is when you feel like giving up, really think about it. Because sometimes giving up is the right choice, but sometimes it's not. I guess that's the difference between Pluto and Saturn. Like Saturn experience, this is the difference. I think I just come up with something. I think that Saturn is the experience of not giving up. That you have to go through the crap and come out on the other side where you're like, I conquered that mountain. I got through that crap. I did it because I didn't stop. I kept going and I did not quit. Whereas Pluto, I think the trick there is to know when to stop. That what is not working anymore. What is verifiably not useful anymore. That it needs to be dismantled, disintegrated. Bye-bye. You know, that's Pluto. That's the dichotomy of those two. Like Saturn is don't give up. Pluto is you might not want to give this thing up, but you're going to have to. Ren Butler, in this incredible book, The Archetypal Universe, says that Saturn oversees the balancing and healing effect of karma in successive lifetimes, so that we have an opportunity to learn from our mistakes, strive to do better, and know what it feels like to exist on all sides of life. That's crazy amazing. Saturn keeps track of all of the lessons, all the hard lessons, all the times we didn't give up, all that tenacity, that learning process, right? And it's to become aware of all the challenges in lives, all the lives, to really have an awareness throughout all existence of life challenges that can occur. If you got this far in the video, you're pretty awesome. Speaking of books, I'm listening to this audiobook right now that's like seriously blowing my mind. I'm not going to share with you the title yet, but I want to finish it first before I can fully recommend it. But there's one quote in here. It's not about Pluto. It's not about astrology, but this is very Plutonic. He says, "This kind of death is not an end, but only the beginning of a transformation that will generate a rebirth. You cannot be reborn until you are willing to die." And then he goes on to talk about St. Paul's Monastery, which is on Mount Athos in Greece. And he says it's one of the most important sites in Orthodox spirituality. When you go in, there's a little sign that everybody that goes into this monastery sees. It says, if you die before you die, you won't die when you die. Like, let that sink in for a second. Pluto's providing us all these little deaths, all these little opportunities to transcend the attachments we have, things we want to hold on to. And that's where pain comes from, being too attached, unhealthily attached after things no longer serve us. Pluto offers us a release point, an exit strategy. And I think about the metamorphosis, the transformation that Pluto provides through these experiences that kind of are horrible at their worst, traumatic. But if I think about a fat, juicy caterpillar and it transforming into a lighter than air butterfly, I gotta think that that's probably pretty hard. That's a pretty challenging thing to do, to change from this fat little grubby worm thing to this ethereal creature that can go wherever it wants to go. It's been emancipated, it's been freed, but it had to go through the death of its old self. The shortcuts don't work. We can't go from point A to point Z without traveling through every other letter of the alphabet. Our own yellow brick road. Saturn and Pluto stories where we can't give up, and other things where we have to give up. If we don't, we have no perspective, no evolution, no experiences. We have no life. We're a book with no story. We're a video game with no challenges. We're a movie where nothing ever happens. And that's boring. It's useless. And that's not what we're here for. Not at all.